What's happening, guys? 22 years ago, right about this time of year, when the sun was setting over there just like that, I had one of those moments in my life when I was like, okay, this is going to be my destination right here. This is where I want to raise my family. I was looking for a 15-acre piece of property, or had to be in Tallinn so I could stay on the Tallinn bus line. This ended up being 52 acres, and this property has only been in one other family than ours since the beginning of recorded time. And in fact, that little house right there, there was a 75-year-old, maybe a little older lady who lived in there, who was born in that house. And I think, I don't know, dozens of generations of her family were born and raised here. They had 115 acres, and they sold me this 52 acres over on this side. And we started working on it 22 years ago, rebuilding these stone walls, drawing plans, getting advice, and busting our ass. And this weekend, Christy mowed, I don't know, half of it, and then today I mowed the rest of it, about 20 acres. And the kids had Jordan had her prom pictures here. That was the third time. First Taylor, and then Kenny, and now Jordan had their prom photos here, and it's like the ultimate compliment having the kids want to come here to take their prom photos. I'll show you where they do it. Building these walls took literally years. There's about 3/4 of a mile of stone wall. And if you look, that's a man-made hill right there that I made with the dirt from when we dug the pond. So I'll show you. That is. Prom photos taken right in front of the stone wall here. All the stone walls in the entry were all made from stones from when we cleared the land. I had these granite signs made. It's 5-inch thick black granite. And I put the Kaplan family on there because that's what it's all about. It's about family. That's why we did this. A place for the family to feel at home, safe, and a great place to raise the kids, where they can ride their motorcycles on their own private property without fear of being harassed. Most of the places growing up that I used to ride at had all got closed, shut down, or turned into condos or apartments or something. So this was to secure a spot where we could ride together. The driveways had interlocking concrete pavers. There's 24 tractor trailer loads of pavers. Over here I've got peaches and pear trees that we planted. There were a lot more than there is now. There's only 2, 4, 6, 7 left. I had about 20 of them, but they didn't all make it. And most of these trees you see along the windrow here, these pine trees that are all like 20 to 30 feet tall, I took them here 22 years ago in the back of my truck and planted those. All the pine trees here. It's amazing how fast the trees go. This pine tree behind me here, check this out. It's like 30 feet tall. That thing was in the back of my truck, man. It's absolutely massive. I just want to stand in front of it for perspective. Gently rolling hills over here that you see, those are the track, and it's mostly this is where the kids learn to ride right here. So the first thing we did when we bought the property was we used to camp in the RV in the field, and the first thing we did was cut out a track, and then it developed over the course of time, and we're standing on top of maybe a 20-foot mound of dirt here. And you can see these big giant berms. Those were 70 plus dump truck loads in my small dump truck. that we used here to develop the property. I put these lights in so the track was lighted, which is a lot of fun. The kids got to ride here at night, and in the wintertime when it snows, you turn those on and the whole field would glow. It's just amazing. And we used to take the kids, tow them behind the 4x4 truck on tubes out in the middle of this field, this big 15-acre field, which is just a blast for the kids to play on. So they've all grown up and moved away. Kenny moved out when he was 17. He moved into the Bixby house by the mill. Taylor moved out when she was 18. And Jordan started living full-time with her mom a few years back too. So I got this big property to myself, and the only reason I'm hanging on to it now is, well, I do love it, but I'm hoping that someday God will give us some grandkids. But I call it big sky country up here, because you see there's such a big giant field, such an expansive sky here, as you can see. So I always call it the big sky country. But the pond over there, that took me a lot of work right there. It's 15 feet deep. It's got diving boards and a rock tower for the kids to jump off of, and they use that a lot. There's 3 diving boards. They actually they used to have parties there all the time. Then the house I built that myself with the help of my friend Scott Schroer. Took a year off of work and did nothing but work on the house. And it's supposed to look like a carriage house, like in the olden days. And that cupola, the kids could actually go up in there and look around all 4 sides. And those are copper finials on the top by this place called Copper by Tom. Big porch. And there's 4 garage doors, 2 on the front, 2 on the back, and 1 on the other side, on the far side. So 5 garage doors. The first floor is all for vehicles, and bikes and stuff. But the track was always a big part of why we enjoyed being here, and we rode here all the time. The kids I had a curfew 10 o'clock at night. I don't think the camera does it justice, but these berms are huge, and you basically jump over this tabletop here and then rip through that berm and then jump over the tabletop here. So maybe it'll turn into a track again someday, but since they weren't riding here, I decided I would just level it down a bit with a bobcat and plant grass seed, because it looked like shit when it was all overgrown. So now it looks like, I don't know, kind of looks like a golf course, sort of. But it's a ridiculous amount of work, and it was a lot of time and money, but it was worth it. We had a great life here raising the kids. My dump truck I used to haul all the rocks around. Stone wall's massive on this end. I just wanted to give you an idea of the scale of this wall. I'm 6'2", so it's probably 10 feet tall. My buddy Kurt and Billy Ainsworth Jr. and Armin, they spent like 2 weeks from that tree to there. It took them almost 2 weeks to build this thing. It's absolutely massive. We used all the big rocks in there. And over here, this was another spot the kids used to ride all the time. These gently rolling hills right here. These are all created from when we excavated the pond. We put all this, we got a permit from the Wetland Commission and put that here. And this is that's a solar panel. This is something else that I gotta put something in front of it so you get an idea how big it really is. This thing's freaking massive. There's the gator. It's thing's huge, and it's a sun tracker. It follows the sun, and in the morning it's facing east. At night, of course, it's facing west. But it's got it produces all the electricity that we need here. Look at this thing, it's freaking huge. It produces all our electricity, and we use geothermal cooling so that we don't buy any oil or natural gas to heat or cool the place. It's all done by electricity from the solar panel. We actually built the pond twice. When the kids were little, I had it real shallow because my cousin drowned when he was 3, and I ended up being a pallbearer at his funeral. So I was nervous my kids or one of their friends would drown here, so it was very shallow. But once they got older and they could swim really good, we excavated it, and we used mafia blocks and built these platforms here and wrapped them in stone. What we did is it's 15 feet deep right off the edge. If you ever done any excavation, a basketball hoop's 10 foot, so it's 15 feet's really deep. And the diving boards are gone because, well, the kids are gone and they broke them. They had like 5 teenagers. There's a 280-pound weight limit on them. They had like 1,200 pounds. And they snapped them, but eventually I'll get some new ones. And this is a Lifeguard Tower right here that I had built. So there's a chair on top of it, and it has an umbrella post. So it would kind of look like, you know, almost like a camp or a resort or something. In the summertime, we had umbrellas in the 2 Lifeguard Towers. But the pond has brought us great joy over the year. At first, it was full of fish when it was, this is stairs that we have going down into the pond so you don't have to walk in the mud. But it brought us great joy. We had it stocked with bass and trout and koi fish. And you can actually climb up this rock right here. There's steps that go up it. There's the other Lifeguard Tower right there. And then we have a sandy beach right here where the kids would go in to swim, and a picnic table, and we used to have barbecues here all the time. This rock is really cool. It's it doesn't look that high up here until you're up on top and you go to jump off. It's about 12 feet to the water. And there's a diving board on the other side too, so they would swim over and jump off that one too. But we call that bundle of trees over there, we call that the island. That's a spillway over there. I built that with my John Deere 350 dozer. I got 2 dragons there, kind of guarding the spillway. That's where the water spills out into the second pond over there, and the third one over there, and then it goes into the neighbor's pond. But this rock tower was actually 8 feet higher when I first built it, but I was afraid the kids would get hurt. You could actually see it from the street. So I cut it down smaller so that, well, it'd be a little bit safer. This masonry work took a bit to do, for sure. These, of course, are all stones that we harvested when we cleared the land and the property. So these gently rolling hills here are, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but they're a lot of fun to ride bikes on, or pit bikes, or something like an XR 250 or whatever, just for play riding. I don't know if you might have seen the videos. This is where we had the 500 shootout 2 years in a row. And then we went to the national track, Southwick, for the 3rd year. The 3rd year was closed by COVID, but so technically it would have been the 4th year. But we can have a lot of people here, and there's plenty of room. That's my stone table I made out of a giant stone chairs. Bridge over here that I made across over. This is where the house was eventually going to go, but I decided not to build a house, so basically couldn't afford it. This is the best spot for the house out here. A lot of landscaping. Working on the land clearing project on the other side. Still, you might have seen that video last week, working on the land clearing over there. Another roughly 13 acres that we cleared, and there's a killer house spot up there. It's just, and one of the things that inspired me to make this video was Junior was here the other day. And he's like, we got up top there, and he goes, "Pops, I feel like, can I build a house here?" And I was like, "Sure, that's why I bought the place." And he's like, "I feel like I've made it to my destination when I'm here." And that's what I started off. That's what kind of inspired me to do this video. Sometimes in life, you get a feeling in your stomach about, this is just right. This is what I need to do, and it might not make sense to anybody else. Whatever it is, whether it's starting a new business, or going on a trip, or building a new house, or building a new car, truck, or whatever it is, I believe these little inner nudges that we get to do something, or these convictions that, well, this is right and I'm going to do this no matter how long it takes me. In this case, 22 years, and I'm still working on it. You got to follow your dreams. So, and this is the fruits of the labor of my dreams here. It was a lot of hard work. It didn't come easy, but it was worth it. That 25-foot tall beech tree right there, I had chipped a bunch of trees from my wood chipper, and there was about a 6-foot tall pile of wood chips. You can kind of see the little bump at the bottom there. That's what it grew out of. And this little beech tree popped out of the middle, and I watched it grow over the last 20 years, and there it is. These are the stone walls that we built. There's another beech tree right there. The beech trees are beautiful out here. They're my favorite trees. That's mountain laurel right there, the pine tree growing out of it. These are mountain laurel too. That's a nice mountain laurel bush. All these little white flowers popped out this year, which is pretty cool. These are my two favorite trees on the property right here. These are massive American beech trees. They're probably 70 years old. These things live to be 700, 800 years old. And some of these oak trees can live to be 1,200 years old, which is absolutely ridiculous if you think about it. These little trees here next to the pine tree, these are maybe 20 feet tall. Those are what we call ironwood. Look at that one. Freaking beautiful specimen tree. There's a few more over here. All these smaller trees that we kept are ironwood. And they don't grow very tall. They only go about 25 feet tall, but they've got crazy formations in the branches. Here's another pair of beech trees right here. Two big ones. This is the other side of the property. We built this stone wall with the stones that we got clearing the land. There's a beautiful beech right there. This here is a grove of ironwood. All these trees here are ironwood. You see how the branches they go all different directions. Just adds to the beauty of the landscaping, having the smaller trees and then all the massive oaks. The canopy's kind of grown together here. That's why we left all the big trees, because it gets really hot out in the field, but in here in the woods, it stays nice and cool, because each one of these trees is like having 20 room-sized air conditioners. Due to photosynthesis, they cause the cool air to rush from the bottom to the top, so there's like a breeze underneath the trees at all times. Another way to tell a tree is an ironwood is you can see how it's like almost an octagonal shape. It's not perfectly round. It's like has these ridges all the way around, and they are pretty cool. They're almost like a giant Japanese bonsai tree. I guess that's a good way to describe it. We'll call it American bonsai tree because they grow in all kinds of weird shapes. There's another big beech tree. This is the area we've been working on landscaping over here for 2 years now. We started last year. This will eventually look like the other side does. That's all going out for firewood. You can see there's a massive beech. You can see how it has leaves all the way to the ground, whereas these oaks, you go up 80 feet before you see any leaves. But this whole tree canopy, when you look up, they've all grown together. So this is going to be a very cool shaded spot. We're going to use all these stone piles here to build a stone wall. This is basically what you get when you clear land around here, because it's so rocky. It's unlike Florida where you have lots of sand and stuff. There's piles of rock everywhere. Rock, rock, rock. So what do you do with rock? Well, what do you do with stone? Around here, you make stone walls. So that's what we're gonna do. This is a spot we got to yesterday with Junior, and he was like, "Dad, I feel like I'm at my destination when I come back here." And it was ironic to hear him say that, because I had that same moment on this property 22 years ago, and I had the same moment when we bought the mill, when I was standing on the property looking at the mill. But this is really cool. We clearing this out. Before we cleared it, you couldn't even see it from the other side where the house is, or from the field. It was all overgrown, because what it looked like was what's behind us. Let me show you. It's just a wall of trees. You can't even see 10 feet in there. So now we've cleared it up. You can see how the topography. This is going to be a killer spot to ride dirt bikes, play bikes. We'll have a couple roads coming through here. This clearing job is about 20 acres total. It's a big project, make no mistake. And I tried to save. See this little pine tree right here? So Charlie Brown tree, and that little Charlie Brown tree, and that little Charlie Brown tree over there. I saved. I came out here before we cleared this. I tagged every single tree you see here surrounding us. I tagged with caution tape before we initially cleared the property. These are all the trees I wanted to keep, and then we cleared it, stumped it, and it didn't come back for 10 years. So when I came back, a lot of these little pine trees didn't come back because I couldn't afford to go any farther. I ran out of money, and I was working on the mill and the museum project, which was a project and a half that pushed me right to the limit. But in any event, there was about a 10-year break on doing any work here, and we just got over here last fall and started working on it again, and then again this spring, going into this summer. So you can see there's some primo soil here. There'll be no problem growing some we're gonna grow like a wildflower mixture out here, wildflowers and a shade tolerant grass that doesn't need to be mowed, that only grows like 10 inches. So Christy's doing the research on that. She just picked out a whole bunch of flower seeds to plant in some of the areas that we're not gonna have lawn, and we planted those today. We also planted corn today. We planted pumpkins today, and we planted a whole shitload of flowers. So hopefully we'll be successful with that. But when you look up and see all these massive trees, it's a very unique piece of property. That's a wetland area down there, so we won't ever build or do anything on that down in there. That's going to be left 100% unmolested, so for the wildlife. We're going to leave this back 5 acres back here, just natural, maybe cut a couple trails through so you feel like you're riding through the thick forest or through the woods, which is what you will be. This out here obviously is going to be a lot more open, so great spot to free ride, just zoom around. But the next step is to get all these piles, massive piles of rocks. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's probably 20 big piles of rocks that we got to pick up. Big piles. And those are all going to turn into a wall over there right on the border of the property. We staked the property line over there, and that's where we're going to build it. So we worked here all weekend. Saw a lot of my friends going out boating and out dirt biking and everything, but sometimes you got to sacrifice. These kind of projects don't do themselves, and it's a lot of maintenance taking care of the place, but it's worth it. I wanted to show you guys, give you a project update so you can see what's going on here. Probably my favorite part of this is we're standing on the highest part of the property right here, and it's all gently rolling hills all over the place. Like I said, I don't know if the camera picks up the topography changes, but it's gonna be a lot of fun riding out here. And we'll have a road that goes from the back of the property all the way up to the front. That's 3,200 feet. It's almost 3/4 of a mile. So it won't be perfectly straight, but it'll be a hell of a lot of fun to go ripping down. That's what I've done a shitload of landscaping with on the property of that Bobcat. I had 2 bulldozers at one point and an excavator like this, about the same size but without a thumb. This one has a thumb. This is my friend Lee Collins. Thanks to Lee for making the project possible. He's been doing all the excavation work out back, and his son Tucker's been working here on weekends, helped me out. It's a big job, and we're gonna get it done one day at a time. Go over the bridge. last 2 winters in 3 months traveling in, and we upgraded to the big toy hauler. So we'll be heading out after Christmas down probably to Anaheim 1 out in California. Hopefully we'll be able to do that, take the rig cross country. Not that far from Bradley International Airport. The occasional jet flying by. This is Christy's garden. We just planted that tree last weekend, that big red one right there, red leaf one, and the little fat Albert one right there, that little pine tree, because the other ones had died. But we built this over the last couple of years. That was like the worst part of the property. The grass wouldn't grow there for some reason. It was a low-lying point, and it was always wet, whatever. So we built it up. Now it's the best spot. Made lemonade out of lemons. Those trees are growing beautifully. Big pines. Well, I hope you guys liked this little tour of the property. I don't do this. I don't do this to show off or brag. I do this to show you guys, because I started with nothing, absolutely nothing, less than nothing, and through hard work and perseverance and having faith and working hard and not drinking and not doing drugs and investing my money wisely, I was able to pull this off, buy this property, build this place in 1 generation. When my dad died, when my mom died, there was nothing, not a penny. When my dad died, there was $10,000 left in his estate after we paid to bury him. And I gave my brother my half to buy a Harley Davidson 27 years ago. My dad died when I was young. I was 28 years old, or 29. So anyways, in any event, I started with nothing, absolutely nothing. And I worked hard. I sought counsel from wise people, mainly some of the best motivational speakers that I know of, like Anthony Robbins, Wayne Dwyer, Zig Ziglar. I studied a lot of Dale Carnegie stuff. I took Dale Carnegie course, actually, and I busted my ass, and I still do every day. I worked all day long here at the compound, and all day Saturday listing bikes on eBay for sale, and I'm just always hustling to try to get things done. And I love what I'm doing. I worked 25 years in the computer industry, got sick of that, and started the bike business. Went full-time in the motorcycle business over 10 years ago, and I'm doing what I love to do. So if you have a dream, follow your heart. If you have a goal, set your goals high, dream big, and go for it. It might take you 22 years like it did me to accomplish it, but if you set your sights high, the universe seems to align itself with what your goals are, and you start noticing opportunities to make the things happen that you want to have happen. Sun's about to set. I'm gonna go in and take a quick shower and have a little barbecue. I want my neighbor's barbecue, and I was like, man, we gotta barbecue some steak tonight, so Christy's gonna make some steaks. So thanks for watching. If no one's told you yet today, I love you all very much, and God bless America.